Hi guys, thanks for watching Twig, brother. Well, I've just put the news on and there's something I really want to say a few words about. Today is Wednesday the 14th of March 2018 and the big news really today in UK is that Professor Stephen Hawking has passed away. He's died, gone across the Rainbow Bridge, whichever way you want to see it. He has now passed away. And what an inspiration he was. I received a small disability. I'm very sort of grateful to the gods or whatever that it wasn't a much bigger disability when I was in my 20s. And I found it quite hard to get going again after that. And I was absolutely amazed when people started talking about Professor Stephen Hawking, who was smashed down about 10,000 times as badly as I was by his disability, and yet actually continued not just to keep doing what he was doing before and do it better, but actually to become one of the leading lights, one of the most important people ever in terms of the laws of physics. Now, if you've been watching Twig Brother for any length of time, you'll know I'm quite a spiritually based person. Spirituality is quite an important thing to me. And when I first really decided I was going to live my life in the most spiritual way that I felt I could, I really thought that was going to be about breaking away from anything to do with science, anything like that. And I more or less lost interest in science. I more or less lost interest in the news or anything that was really anything other than spirituality, to be quite honest, because I got into it in a very, very big way. And I still am. But I've continued listening to the scientists, and I've continued particularly listening to Stephen Hawking, because whatever anybody, I think Brian Cox would agree with this, or quite a lot of his friends, but I actually think Stephen Hawking understood something. I think he understood that we don't understand and can never understand exactly what's going on in the universe. The sort of starry backdrop that I often use, I'm not using it now because the green screen thing wouldn't work, but never mind that. It's the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, and basically it's a radio telescope that was flown up out into space so it could take pictures without the atmosphere around it kind of getting in the way. And that was something that Stephen Hawking's theories had a lot to do with, just making that at all possible. But when we actually look at that is radio images coming back. It's not like a photograph we've taken, it's radio waves, and it's how they're interrupted and how they travel around that tell us there must be certain bodies here, here and here. So really, see, theoretical physics, that's what it's about. He was a theoretical physicist in a lot of ways, but he actually made that real. Now, to me, that is the alchemy of the spiritual life. You know, people talk about alchemy like you would try and, make a lump of mud into a lump of gold or something. And that has never really been what it's about. It's that esoteric thing, it's the thought that the idea that there's a thought in your mind, or you come up with an idea and you actually take it out and make it real. Artists do that when they see a picture in their head and they paint it, or they see a picture in real life and they want to capture it and they want to show it in a particular way because that's their idea. If I make something out of wood, same thing, it's an idea out of my head that's been turned into something real. Even just making this video, I was sitting in my chair listening to the news and I thought, I'll put a video up about this because I'm quite gutted to sort of think about what's happened to Stephen Hawking. It happens to us all, I mean, goodness me, it's really not the end of the world. Of course, it's the end of the world for the people around him, his nearest and dearest, who must be devastated today. But I'm sure that when time has passed, not that much time perhaps, but when a little time has passed and when the worst of the hurt is starting to subside a little bit for them, they're going to realise, what an amazing person. Nobody could really have got more out of an ordinary human life than Stephen Hawking. And perhaps I shouldn't call it ordinary, actually, because there was nothing ordinary about the man. But he could laugh and joke and be happy about these things. And I feel really sure that he understood that the thoughts that spiritual people have are kind of linking up to something real in the universe. We just don't know what it is yet. I'm guessing that, I'm really guessing that, but what an imagination it must have taken, someone who's got the mind of a theoretical physicist where it's all science and yet can still look out at all the stars and think, oh, isn't that amazing, and just be wowed by it. And actually then start thinking about it, actually then start trying to come up with answers. It's astonishing. Some of the other physicists around really don't inspire me, and I've listened to Brian Cox, for example. Is it Professor Brian Cox or Dr. Brian Cox? I don't know. But I've listened to him, and he is really, really keen on the idea that anything to do with spirituality is just complete rubbish. And why do we even think about it, he asks. He gets quite annoyed sometimes, and how stupid we are to see this. And what he doesn't get is, he believes in something, we believe in something. He believes that it's only physics, that it could only be physics. Well, what if you just have this notion in your head that there's something more to life than just pure physics, than just the nuts and bolts of getting through? Well, that's what I believe. I think there's something much more in life, and I think it extends beyond this life out into the wider universe. I think we've lived this life many times. We've all incarnated, reincarnated many times over, and that's the way I see it. Well, Brian Cox would think that was a total joke. And, I don't actually imagine Stephen Hawking would have held with that completely. But he knew there was something different, something more important, something in the laws of physics that is above the laws of physics. And I think there's something in the laws of spirituality that is above the laws of spirituality. And I think it's out there pretty much closely joined together with the laws of physics in terms of the way we don't understand them. Physicists have determined, as they've looked into quantum physics, that some atoms can appear and disappear. Now, given that they've got this law that you can't create or destroy matter, what's happening? Well, they've decided, and I had a good laugh when I heard this, they've decided there must be a parallel universe. Well, they've been laughing at people like me for saying that since I was in nappies, but it is absolutely true, I'm sure there are parallel universes. I'm sure there are millions of them. But that's my take. That is really only my take. And I live in a world, and I can only go as far as this world is going to let me, because I live in a world with people who believe different things. And that's great. That's cool, really. I don't see that we all have to be different. One group of people are scientists and one group of people are something else. We are actually all people with essentially the same needs and essentially the same things driving us, or the same range of things driving us. And just that is my full thought about Stephen Hawking, really, is that he had a big enough mind to actually see outside just what is the only things we can actually see. Although he was strictly a scientist, he understood that there was a lot more going on in this world than we will ever know about. I want to celebrate his life. I thank God that I have lived at the time when someone like that was making those discoveries and our world was becoming such a more interesting place to all of us. I don't know if him or any of his family or friends would really want someone saying a prayer, because he was a very scientific man. But in my heart, I'm going to say I thank God for that man's life. And I'm sure there's an afterlife, actually. I'm convinced of it. And I know he'll be very well looked after there. So God bless you, Stephen Hawking. Thanks for watching Twig, brother, guys. I'll be back soon with some more. Have a good day. Bye-bye.